Alexa, what's today's date?
It's Friday, April 16th.
Alexa, how many police were shot in New York?
Here's something I found on the web. According to dailypress.com, 2 New York police officers were shot Monday night in the Bronx while responding to a robbery, police said.
Alexa, how many police were shot in Detroit?
Here's something I found on the web. According to nidailynews.com, 2 police officers were shot in Detroit and taken to a local hospital Wednesday night, authorities said.
Alexa, how many police were shot in Baltimore?
Here's something I found on the web. According to McCall.com, 2 police officers working with a U.S. Marshals Task Force were injured in a shooting northeast Baltimore Wednesday afternoon, according to Baltimore police.
Alexa, how many police were shot in Florida?
Here's something I found on the web. According to BuzzFeedNews.com, 6 police officers were shot, 2 of them fatally, in 3 separate incidents in Florida and Pennsylvania on Friday night.
Alexa, how many police were shot in Los Angeles?
Here's something I found on the web. According to FoxNews.com, 4 officers were shot in 2 separate attacks on Los Angeles law enforcement, leading to a manhunt in one case and a SWAT response to a barricaded suspect in the other.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. So, this week I want to talk about police shootings. I want to talk about what they would call good shootings and bad shootings, like a good shoot when the officer was justified in shooting, and when an officer is not justified in shooting. And I want to go over like the perception that people have of police officers and how this all works. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a police officer. I've never been a police officer. I've actually had experiences on the other side of the law, but I think we need to start using a little common sense here, and we need to start having real honest discussions. I just can't understand how we got to where we are in this country. I can't, look, when I was a kid, the idea was, hey, listen, you tried to resist arrest and fight the police and you got fucked up or shot. I mean, you tried to resist arrest and fight the police. Now, I'm not saying that should be the norm, like, oh, you resist arrest, you get shot. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we need to look at these things honestly. We need to stop believing the fucking liars in the mainstream media that leave content out. They show you part of a video and they give you the narrative that they want you to believe. So we're gonna start off right now with the first video that the first body cam video that I have, and that's of the Daunte Wright shooting. So let's take a look at that one. Alright, so we're watching here. We see Daunte Wright. We see the police officer. He has his hands behind his back, and you could tell right about here, the officer is telling him, like, don't do it, don't resist arrest. It's actually, like, right here. So that's when the other officer comes over and grabs his arm, and they're basically telling him, don't resist arrest. Look, now he breaks free of the officers, and he jumps in his car. Now, let's be clear about something. This female officer that pulled out her service weapon and not her taser, okay, she's 100% incompetent. Hey, so I can't think of her name. The female officer that came over when he started resisting arrest and grab Daunte Wright's arm, she's 100% incompetent. First of all, what the fuck are we doing with tasers that are black? Okay, they should be a completely different color, and I've seen a lot of them. They're like neon yellow or neon orange. And how she went from, if she's a righty or a lefty, how she went from her service weapon, like her 9mm, and thought it was her taser. I mean, we're talking about somebody, I mean, supposedly she's been on the force for like 26 years. We're talking about somebody that obviously is incompetent. There's no question about that. But, you know, there's a lot of context missing here that I think people need to understand. Daunte Wright, okay, I keep seeing on social media, oh, they pulled him over because he had an air freshener in his car. Oh, they pulled him over because he had a marijuana charge. I mean, supposedly he was pulled over because he had an expired registration. But that's not the point. He already was arrested for possession of a gun without a permit and resisting arrest and evading police. So now you have to say to yourself, and I don't know if this is true, but I would think that, you know, you kind of have to put this into context. Maybe when they put, you know, put his license plate number in, it popped up on the computer that he has a warrant because he resisted arrest. He had a firearm. So, you know, you can't just take something and say black and white. Oh, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. And I'm not making excuses for this police officer. I mean, that's absurdity. I'm not saying that she did the right thing and he deserved to get shot. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that we have to look at things in the gray area, know the full context of the situation. So they run the license plate up, expired registration. He has a warrant for his arrest. I believe, and you know, maybe I'm wrong, someone could correct me on this. I believe the warrant was for evading police and possession of a firearm without a permit. Okay, so now here's the cops. They pull this up, and I'm speculating. I don't know for sure, but they pull this up, and it says, oh, you know, this guy had a gun, and he, you know, evaded the police. He ran away from the police, and he has a warrant for that. And his license, not his license, his registration is expired. All of these things are part of the story. Okay, I'm so sick of the media making criminals, okay, making these people that are violating the law, they're resisting arrest, they're running away from the police, they're doing all this shit. Oh no, they're saints because the police made a mistake. Okay, that's fucking bullshit. All right, if you have a warrant for your arrest and the police try to arrest you and their warrant is legitimate, maybe it's not, maybe they got no reason to arrest you in the world, you're supposed to fucking comply, because if you don't comply, then maybe you get shot. Now, we can get into the whole thing, because I think there is definitely something to be said about, you know, people are going to hate me for this, about women in law enforcement, right? A woman is not as strong as a man. I know the left wants to tell you that there's no difference between men and women, but listen, I'm 210 pounds. I'm in reasonably good shape. I don't think that woman or two of those women could stop me if I tried to get away from them. I mean, it's nonsense. You know, there was a time when, in order to be a police officer in this country, I mean, I'm in New York. I know that my grandfather was a police officer, and there was standards. When you lower those standards of who can be a police officer and, you know, who has the physicality to be a police officer, when you lower those standards, I mean, look, he didn't pull away until after the big cop that could pretty much grab him and do what he had to do with him, manipulate his body. He didn't try to resist until the big officer let go and this woman grabbed onto him. So let's watch the video one more time and let's look at, like, you know, keep your mind on the idea that these police officers go to the scene, they pull this guy over, he has warrants, he's known to be in possession of a weapon, and maybe they didn't know that, but let's just say for argument's sake that they did. And now he pulls away from the police and jumps into his vehicle. You know, if you got police officers in your family or anybody in law enforcement, what would you do? I would say you would tase the shit out of him, right? And I think that's what she was really trying to do, tase him to stop him. But she was incompetent and she made a terrible mistake. Let's watch the video one more time and let's look at exactly what went on. Alright, so here we go back to the video. We covered this before. Officers trying to put him in cuffs. At a certain point, and it'll happen soon, he tries to resist arrest. Now, all this stuff happens so fast, and I think that's incredible, and I think that's a point people need to understand. There's the female officer. Now watch the other cop. The other cop lets go. That's when he makes his move. He gets into the car. Now, I mean, listen, if she's a righty, right? First of all, the other officer is completely like in her range of fire. But if she's a righty, she should know that that's her service weapon, for sure, 100%. There's no question about the fact that she was incompetent. Okay, so we just watched and we saw, and I think it's fair to say that the police officer, the woman that shot Daunte Wright, was incompetent. But the media is selling this. Like the first thing that I saw when the media was talking about this was they were saying, "Oh, another black man has been shot." Listen, statistically, you could look it up. Maybe I'll put it on the screen in this video. Black people are not being hunted down. They're not being, statistically mistreated by the police. I'm sure there's some bad cops. I'm sure there's some racist cops. I mean, in any institution where you have almost 1 million people, you're going to have bad people. I mean, it's just a statistical fact. So this officer made a terrible mistake. I don't think that she was trained well. I don't think that it was a good shoot. I think that she should definitely, there should be some repercussions for her for the shooting. But now I'm going to bring us to another shooting, the next one that's kind of like has happened this week, or the body cam footage has been put out this week. Now this next shooting is in Chicago, and this shooting is really, really like, it's a tragedy. A 13-year-old boy was killed. But I'm going to play that video. I want you to watch the video, and I want you to try and look at the full context of what happened. Now, I'm going to put on the video. I want you to watch it, and I want you to make a decision for yourself. If you were that police officer, now keep in mind, police officers get shot every fucking day. I mean, if not in America, if not every day, 3 to 4 times a week. If you were that police officer running down that alley, and you were, in the situation that officer was in, what would you have done? Now, I would say that the number one priority of somebody in law enforcement is to uphold the law, to arrest bad guys, all of that stuff, but really to make it home to your family alive, to not get killed. I mean, that would be my fucking priority. I don't know about you guys. Like, yeah, you want to do the right thing. You want to arrest bad people, and you want to keep the community safe, but you don't want to get killed, right? So let's look at this next video of the most recent shooting in Chicago with the 13-year-old kid. I can't think of his name. I'll definitely say it in the next clip. But take a look at that video, watch what happens, and you tell me what you would have done if you were a police officer and you were in that situation. All right, so let me apologize. It was hard to find the raw body cam footage of this. So here's the officer chasing after the kid. 13-year-old kid, and right there. So, let's go back. Alright, so here's the footage. The cop is running him down. He has a gun. Now, you can't see that he has a gun. You're going to see that he has a gun in a minute. But look, you see him right there? He tossed the gun behind the fence. They recovered the gun, so they know he had a gun. So you're the police officer. He tosses the gun behind the fence, and then he raises up his hands. What do? You shoot. You shoot. You protect your life. I mean, really, what this comes down to is what is a 13-year-old kid, running around? There's the footage of him running around after a sensor picked up gunshots, running around with a gun. Nobody's talking about that. His family's coming on TV and all these people on the news. Oh, this kid, he was 13 years old. Listen, I feel bad for the kid. There's no question. There's the gun. There's the gun that he threw behind the fence. I feel bad that this kid lost his life. But his fucking parents have to accept some culpability to this. Okay? The police officers did everything that they could. If you watch the video, these guys are trying to give him CPR. They're trying to save this kid's life. He was running around at 2:30 in the morning with a 21-year-old. I don't even want to state what is a 13-year-old doing hanging out with a 21-year-old. There's a problem there. But there's a 21-year-old and a 13-year-old shooting guns off, running around in an alley, and then the 13-year-old gets shot. This is a good shoot. The police officer did nothing wrong. And if you're going to burn down cities and riot over this, you're a fucking clown. Straight up, you're a clown. You got no business judging this police officer. He did the right thing to protect his life, and, everybody wants to make this a racial thing. This kid wasn't even black. The cop didn't know what race he was. He was chasing him down a dark alley. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. And if you keep accepting the lies and you keep accepting this bullshit, we're going to get what's coming to us as a country. Okay, everybody. So you saw the body cam footage. You saw the videos. I just want to make a couple statements. First of all, anybody who believes that these shootings were racially motivated is just what you are, and what you're an ideologue. You believe this false narrative that the police are out there hunting and killing black people, and the police are systemically racist. But I'm gonna show one more video, and I think this video is really important because this is a video that kind of, it brings everything that I was saying into not into clarity, because there's nothing clear about any of this bullshit. But you watch this video, and there's a couple of things here. First of all, in this video, this just happened recently. It happened a couple months ago in Tennessee. In this video, you're going to see what happens when a police officer, number one, doesn't have the physicality to do his job. Number two, allows a person to resist arrest and doesn't take immediate action. And this is what happens when somebody is allowed to get back into their vehicle during an arrest. So watch this next video. Put into context that this officer was polite. Personally, I think that this fucking cop, he let her do way too much. Watch the video. We'll talk about it at the end. And, you make a decision for yourself. You tell me what you think about this situation. Take a look.
Come step right back here. What did you take out of it?
Nothing.
Okay. All right, listen. Just come back here. I think we're getting off on the wrong foot, okay?
Because I'm really confused on why I'm getting
He's
shot.
got several wounds.
Okay, that has nothing to do with me.
You don't know who's in the car.
Nobody's in my car.
Well, now I know that. However, now I'm going to address the other problems.
Okay, so you want my bag and all my belongings?
So just step right back here.
Can I use the restroom?
And there's being audio and video
That's
recorded, just to let you know.
Okay.
So it's just in here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was there... It says...
It's probably another bag.
Yeah, I'm not done with that though. Where's your lighter at?
In the car.
13, it says you're about 7 minutes away
I'll
from
get it for you in a
that.
second, okay?
You drive
Oh,
for
right there,
church
yeah.
and the Dollar General. Can I have you start across the 23?
You scaring me.
Thank you.
Here, do me a favor, Trevor.
No,
Turn around.
put me in handcuffs. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ma'am.
No.
You're about to get paid! Get out! Get out on the ground! Down on the ground! Step out! Ma'am! Put the gun down! Put the gun down! 23 shots fired! Shots fired!
10-4, 13, keep on that code 3.
Out! Ma'am! Put the gun down! Put the gun down! 23 shots fired! Shots fired!
10-4, 13, keep on that code 3.
Okay, so that was the last video that I was putting out there as an arrest. So there's a lot of things to talk about here. First of all, it doesn't matter. So I think that, Trevor Noah said some shit about how black people have to have the talk with their children. Listen, this is fucking common sense. My parents told me this shit a long time ago, and I don't want to hear about that white privilege shit. Oh, the police aren't going to fuck with you because you're white. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Listen, you comply with the police. Okay, it's common sense. The Hodge twins talked about this too in their last video. It's common sense. When the police tell you to do something, a police officer tells you to do something, you fucking do it. You fight it out in court if the cop is wrong. You know, the idea of, oh, I can do whatever I want, I can resist arrest. Well, you know what? When you resist arrest, I mean, I've always said this, and it doesn't get through to a lot of people, but I think that it's kind of a common sense thing. If I'm a police officer and I have a gun, and you resist me and you try and fight me, I'm now fighting for my life because you know that I'm armed with a gun. Like, why is this some big mystery? Oh my God! Like, the police are, they're arresting me for no reason. So fight it out in court. You're trying to fight police? They're armed. They have guns. If you try and fight me when you know I have a weapon, you know I have a deadly weapon on me, and you're trying to fight me, I'm automatically in the mind frame that I'm fighting for my life. So this last video, it kind of captures a lot of the things I said. First of all, I think this police officer really shouldn't be in active duty with him being overweight like that. Look, I'm going to be honest. This woman tried to run away from me. And again, I'm no bodybuilder, no muscle man, but I could tackle her and put her to the ground very swiftly. This officer, obviously, because of his weight, couldn't do that. He allowed her to physically run around the vehicle before he caught her and get into her car. And what did she do when she got into a car? He's hitting her with the taser, and she's still able to grab a firearm and shoot him. Okay? And then he shot her. Listen, it's real simple. Stop making everything about race. Look at things objectively and say, hey, wait a minute. This is fucking crazy. You're trying to fight with police. You're resisting arrest. I mean, this woman, she shouldn't have died. She shouldn't have died. What was she thinking? What is anybody thinking when you try and fight the police? It doesn't make any sense. Black Lives Matter. If you really cared about black people, you'd be telling people, do not resist arrest. Have your day in court. Okay? Just like we saw with George Floyd. Just like we saw with Daunte Wright and the other young man. His name was on the screen. I don't know his name off the top of my head. Okay? When the police tell you to do something, whether you're a criminal or not, if you don't fucking do it and you get shot, I mean, all bets are off. Cops aren't supposed to randomly shoot people, but clearly from the videos, they're not randomly shooting people. Okay, they're protecting themselves. This police officer in this video that I just showed you, I don't think that he was physically fit for duty, but he did everything right. He was nice, he was cordial, and what happened? He allowed this woman to get back into her vehicle, she produced a gun, and she shot him. So, I don't know, man. I hope that, the adults step into the room and we stop with this racial bullshit and we stop talking about all the terrible things that police are, because at the end of the day, we all need the police. I think that all of this is an example of why we don't defund police. We give them more money for better training, for better weapons. Like, look, in the case with the woman, right? The woman cop who pulled out her firearm instead of her taser, she needed to be trained better. And maybe she shouldn't have been a cop to begin with. But listen, when you don't have the physicality to do the job, you automatically go to the tool belt, right? If you can't physically restrain somebody, you're going to go for the tool belt. And unfortunately, in that situation, she made a mistake, apparently. I mean, that's what it looks like. She made a mistake of going for the wrong tool in her tool belt. In this situation, you have a police officer who didn't demand respect, didn't take action. I mean, and maybe that's the Ferguson effect. Everybody know what the Ferguson effect is? After Ferguson and the riots and the hands up, don't shoot lie, police officers stopped being assertive with black people because they feared repercussions. Okay? And I think that the last video that I played out of Tennessee, I think that that's a direct result of the Ferguson effect. I only know one thing. If this officer would have grabbed her, handcuffed her, and not allowed her to go back and forth to her vehicle, he might not have got shot. We live in clown world, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that our country gets, I hope that we get our shit together, and I hope that we stop, making everything about race, when clearly I think that the three situations that I showed you today really had nothing to do with race. That's it. I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. God bless, and keep your head up, folks. We're in for a rough ride here as Americans. Take care. Alexa, what's today's date?
Today is Friday, April 16th.
Alexa, how many police have been shot in Ohio?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Kusi.com, police in Ohio say 2 officers have been fatally shot at a home in a Columbus suburb, and a suspect is in custody.
Alexa, how many police have been shot in Virginia?
Here's something I found on the web. According to dailypress.com, 2 West Virginia police officers were shot and wounded Thursday while attempting to stop the driver of a possibly stolen vehicle, an emergency official told the Los Angeles Times.
Alexa, how many police have been shot in Missouri?
Here's something I found on the web. According to WGLT.org, 3 police officers were shot, 1 fatally, after responding to a call from a residence in Clinton, Missouri, on Tuesday night, according to police.
Alexa, how many police have been shot in Wyoming?
Here's something I found on the web. According to gob.com, Casper police on Monday afternoon provided an update on the condition of the officer who was shot on Sunday, saying he was shot at least 5 times.
Alexa, how many police have been shot in Minnesota?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Chicago.com, there had to have been 5 or 6 cops, and they were all getting shot down.
Okay.